Welcome to another Camberley Chess Club Zoom meeting. And this evening we have the pleasure of Siddhartha, who has been on before and done some excellent videos for us. And this evening he's going to look at rook endings.
Yeah, thank you, Martin. Can I first share my screen? Okay. So we had done a few sessions on this rook endings. I mean, one session we had done. The other one was on the rook bishop versus rook ending. But right now we are looking at the rook plus pawn versus rook ending. Okay. So before I jump into these endings, I want to tell three important aspects. And it might look as a digression, but I think it is a very important thing, the way you have to look at this endings in general. One thing is that a big problem is broken down. This is from a mathematics lens. Okay, as a mathematics aficionado, I will tell you any big problem is broken down into smaller sub problems, and we solve those smaller sub problems and then assemble them. To talk about some analogy, if you think about Rubik cube, if you have heard a little bit about it, you solve first the bottom layer, then you solve the middle layer, and then you go to the bigger layer, or top layer. Similarly, if you talk about even in computer science, it is used quite often in algorithms. You have a list to sort. If you suppose you have 1,000 numbers to sort, you break it down into 500 numbers, you sort that. You have another list of 500 numbers, you sort that, and you assemble it. Okay. When you go back and talk about the rook bishop and versus rook ending, the Philidor position, there also you break it down. Okay, if he goes to the third rank, how do you solve it? If he goes to the second rank, how do you solve it? If he goes to the first rank, how do you solve it? Okay, so you have to break down the problem into smaller sub problems and solve that. This is a very, very important concept, which I thought is important to talk about, because it is something similar to people who have studied mathematics. They would know that if you want to prove a theorem, you have to prove several corollaries along the way. And those corollaries are the building blocks. Those are like Lego. Suppose you have Lego pieces, you have those Legos and you try to build a structure based on it. Okay, so this is one important thing to understand. The second thing which I want to talk about is method of exclusion or method of elimination. Okay, this is very important in the endgames. It is like, suppose you have 5 lists of moves. Okay, we'll see these examples, but I just want to talk about these first before we jump into position, and I will tell you where we are using this. Method of exclusion or method of elimination is basically that suppose there are 5 candidate moves. Now what you do, you evaluate the first candidate move and figure out that, okay, this is leading to a draw. I have an overwhelming advantage. I have a pawn here, but it is leading to a draw. So I should not play that. Then you come to the second move. And again, you evaluate that. And finally, you come to the correct solution. If you know that, okay, maybe this move might win, then this is the method you have to follow. But you have to understand that this has a slight drawback in the middle game. If you have not listed down the candidate moves fully, or if you have not rightly assessed that your position is overwhelmingly advantageous and you just play the last move, then what will happen is you might lose also. But like in this ending, rook and pawn versus rook, the side with the extra pawn will lose only in 1% of the case. If he makes a catastrophe or if he makes a horrendous move, then only he can lose. But otherwise, the chances are, I mean, really slim. You have to be careful in chess. We know that blunders are there on the board to be made, as Tartakova has said, right? But you have to see, you have to understand that you have to be careful. But this method of exclusion will come to that, okay? And the third thing, which is also important to know, is, which I have encountered in Dr. Nunn's book, he uses a naming convention, which is very, very useful. And he has this that, like, if there is only one winning move, then he'll put an exclamation mark. If you have studied, looked at any of his endgame books, or he would not put an exclamation mark for a winning move, just, okay, brilliant move. No, nothing like that. If it is the only winning move, then he'll put an exclamation mark. So it is at times there is only one winning move. Okay, so there he puts an exclamation mark to say that all other moves are not winning. Okay, that is another important convention you'll find in Dr. Nunn's book. In fact, the books which I think he introduced this convention way back in his book, Secret of Rook Endings, a very famous endgame book. And he used that convention, and that is what is used in good textbook. Like Dr. Karsten Muller, he has a book, Fundamental Chess Endings. He also uses that convention. So that these three things we'll keep in mind before we jump into these building blocks, as I want to call it. Or so the first, and before I talk about this structure, I will also talk about one thing. These rook endings, when I was reading this Levenfish and Smith's law, we'll come to the references at the end. What he categorizes is, one way you can look at it is if the defender's king is cut off from the scene of action. If you look at the Lucena position, what happens? The defender's king is cut off from the scene of action itself. So in a way, you can think of the king is not participating in the battle. The rook alone is defending. So that is generally bad news, and it leads to a loss in a lot of cases. If the king is not participating, only the rook is defending, and the attacker's king, pawn, and rook, all three are cooperating, so you have very less chances of surviving. Okay, so the two categorization in Levenfish is whether the king is cut off or the king is not cut off. If the king is cut off, then it is generally a bad news. Okay, you will the defending side will not hold. So these heuristics I want to talk about before jumping into the position. So this is the first position I want to talk about. Let me make this as black to play, and I will ask your thoughts. How would you defend this? Okay, so this is as set as white to play. But first, let me ask you guys who would have studied Philidor's defense or whatever. So see here, there is no cutoff. The pawn, the king is in front of the pawn. This is excellent news. You are blockading the pawn. This is the best you can think of. Your king should try to blockade the pawn. So my question to you guys is, how would you think of defending this position? And there are several drawing moves. Okay, there's not one. So think of it and tell me if you have encountered this. Anyone? Martin, you have any idea?
So we're trying to think of things black can do to try to defend.
Yeah, he has to salvage a draw, right? I mean, so how can he...
So one idea is to try to move the rook up and then to try to keep checking the white king.
So what will you do? Where you want to put the rook?
Well, we could try rook b1, couldn't we?
Yeah, we can try rook b1, but yeah, there is an idea with rook b1. Anyone else has some other idea? Rook b1 is a move, but it is a slightly difficult defense. We'll come to that. Because one thing you have to understand, see, there are defenses which are slightly difficult. You are walking on a tightrope. Then there are defenses which are easier. So you should choose a path which is easier among between the two, right? If you choose a difficult defense, then it is you are walking on a tightrope, and you should only use that option if the easier option is not available. Okay, rook b1 is defending. Okay, we'll talk about it, how it defends. Any other idea?
How about rook b6, just to try to cut the king off from coming closer? Yeah,
that is the precise idea which Philidor had, okay, of rook b6. So basically, I will also talk about what was white's threat. What about this move rook c8? What do you guys think about rook c8? How is that move? Does it look good, or it looks not a great move?
It looks like a good waiting move because it doesn't do anything.
Okay, so first let's discuss rook c8. Anyone else thought about rook c8, or everyone thought about rook b1 or rook b6?
Doesn't it let the king come too close? Like it gets back in front of the pawn to shoulder the king. I think it might lose.
Yeah, so one thing I will tell you, in general, as a principle, passivity is death in Rook endgames. In Rook endgames, when you have two choices, generally don't take a defensive posture, because as James' intuition is telling, we'll see that if you play Rook c8, you will lose the game immediately. Okay, so let's first see why Rook c8 is losing. Because this is also, you have to understand, then only you can come to a good move, okay? Because what happens, it is using the method of exclusion or method of elimination, you can come at good moves or candidate moves, whatever you want to call it. So if you play Rook c8, it is very important to see how would you lose the game. Black would just advance the king, king g6, moving closer. Now what else? If you suppose you still passively defend, Rook b8, pushes the pawn forward, right? You continue waiting, okay, as if nothing is happening. Now, what will happen is he can move Rook at 7, swinging the Rook from one end to the other. The side which has less space or which is on the back foot has no space, has no way to maneuver, right? The other side can maneuver both sides. That we always know, that the attacking side, the way he wins most often is he switches flanks. Now what will you do? You have to play king g8. I mean, otherwise he is going to play Rook h8. That's a threat. Yeah. So when you play king g8, this check will happen and you are lost, because now you will play king f8 and this check will happen and you'll lose the Rook. And even if you had not lost the Rook, right? If you had said, okay, how else will I defend? There's a mating threat, so your Rook cannot leave. And if you play Rook d8 or Rook e8, whatever you want, I mean, you are getting mated, right? So you can't do anything here. So see, one rule here is that passive defense will not work for the central and the bishop pawn. The passive defense, I will show you later on, works for the knight pawn and for the Rook pawn.
Okay, so that's a key point you've just made.
Key point, yeah. We'll see that later on, because what happens in the Rook pawn anyway, you don't have this idea of switching. And even with the knight pawn, you cannot switch and you will not be able to do that. We'll see that, okay? So here first, let's see the Philidor's idea. So the best move here, in fact, all the moves are drawing except Rook b7 or Rook b5. Rook b7 is actually a horrendous move, which no one would think of. But Rook b5 is also losing because the king goes up. I mean, if you play Rook b5, it will lose. The king will come here. And then again, the pawn will push. You don't have the time to go back like this.
Yeah.
Right? Because what will happen is this check will happen. When this check happens, you have to come here. Right? Then another check happens.
Disaster.
And now you come here or wherever you want to come, then another check happens.
Yeah.
You come here and then the pawn, when the Rook is on the 8th rank, it is on the promotion rank. The pawn will support the Rook. Now you cannot give rain of checks. The king will start marching towards the Rook. Because if you say that, okay, I'll give you a check, it doesn't help. I keep on crawling towards the Rook, right? And finally, you will run out of checks and you will lose a tempo and this pawn will queen, right? I mean, you will have to move away. So that is the idea, that you cannot play this Rook b5. So first, let's now see the move which Philidor came and what is the key idea here. Rook b6. Now here, if white plays a waiting move, you also play a waiting move. Now white will actually, after making few waiting moves, he will push the pawn. Now what do you think you will do now? This is a very specific idea after this. You have to find the correct idea here. Again, going back is not good, okay? You can't play Rook a8. With that we know, we'll lose if you go back. Anyone has idea? James had studied the Rook endings, he said last month.
Oh, no, not extensively.
But anyway.
Come on, we'll put you on the spot, James. What would you do if you had 10 seconds to move?
If I had 10 seconds to move, I'd probably play check, but I can see that's not right because it sort of transposes into the problem we had before.
Yeah.
I don't
That
know.
check is rook a5 will be horrid. It's horrendous.
Yeah, a5, then g6,
Yeah.
and then it's lost because then you've got a check mate threat, and I don't. Can you stop it? Yeah,
no,
a8.
You have to
then
go
it's-
a8 and then the rook will swing and you will lose it.
Yeah.
But think about other thing. What was the key idea in the Lucina position? Not only in Lucina, shelter, right? So what has happened? Why were you there on a6? Why was the rook waiting on the third rank? This is called the third rank defense. Why is the rook waiting on the third rank? What is the key idea you think? Anyone thinks what is the key idea? Maybe, okay, I'll tell you, or anyone has a guess. What could be the key idea? You want to provoke this move and then do what? You can't go back. You can't play rook a5. So what you can do?
So maybe we go now down to a1, do we?
Yes.
Because now the pawn has moved up. It's difficult for the king to go in front of the pawn when we keep checking him. Yes.
Yeah. So now you will give rain of checks from behind.
Right.
Okay. And he has no shelter. Right. Imagine if the pawn were on f5, then the rain of checks will not work because the moment you check, the king will come to f6 and you will lose the game immediately. But now what will happen? Okay, this is now whatever white does, he can transition into a rook pawn and into a king pawn ending also. That is also draw. Suppose he plays this move. I give a check. He comes here, check. As I said, shelter is the most important aspect in the rook ending. It could be a rain of horizontal checks or a rain of vertical checks. It doesn't matter, but there is no shelter. And when you don't have any shelter, it is sort of perpetual check idea. But the key is that you keep on checking. And when the king is separated from the pawn, sufficiently separated from the pawn, you go behind the pawn and you win the pawn. You might say, I will defend the pawn. But no, it doesn't work. The king will march and the king and the rook are attacking and you will lose the pawn. Right? So basically, you keep on checking till the king and the pawn are sufficiently separated. And then you go behind the pawn and you attack the pawn and you win the pawn and it's a draw. Also, one thing I want to say that at times you can encounter a rook king pawn ending, which is also draw, but you have to know the opposition principle. He plays this move, rook c5. Okay, you give a check. He comes here. Trade this. Come here, king f7, and he plays king f5. Now, where should black play? Anyone knows what he should do?
Straight back, yeah.
Straight back, f8.
Only move that works.
Only move is draws. Now he comes here, only move, and then pawn push. And then you play this. This is a mutual zugzwang position. Black to play is lost. White to play is draw. Okay, and this is a draw. So this is the idea in this Philidor's defense. You keep the rook on the third rank, and the moment the pawn goes forward, then only you should go behind and give checks. Okay, only then. Only when the pawn has marched forward, you go behind. And there is also a principle of maximum checking distance. Don't play rook a2. Rook a2 will also hold, but it makes less sense. You should go as far as possible from the king, right? I mean, rook a2 still holds, but rook a3 or rook a4 will become dangerous and maybe you will not hold. And it makes less intuitive sense why you want to play rook a4, right? So as soon as he pushes the pawn, go back as far as possible. This is what Dr. Nunn also has mentioned in this book.
I don't think anybody at whatever level would think that rook a2 or 3 or 4 was better than a1.
Correct. That is why. But
it's still worth mentioning.
Yeah, it is still worth mentioning because I saw it in his book. He mentions it as principle of maximum checking distance.
Right.
When you have a checking distance as much as possible, you should not, rook a2 will also hold, but it is not a good idea. It is not a technically good move if you play that.
So is f6 just been played a mistake and is a draw?
No, in fact, this position is a theoretical draw because you can't. What will you do if I keep on waiting here? You can't move the king forward. If you move on, if you keep on moving the rook, I also keep on waiting, right? So you have to push the pawn forward.
It's very strange. I think I might have said this before, but you look at this position, and most people surely would say White's winning and going to win.
But you see the contrast with the Lucina. What was the contrast? In the Lucina, the king was cut off.
Yeah.
The defender's king was not participating. Here, the defender king is firmly blockading the pawn. So even though it looks similar, but it is not. It's a quite difference, right? I mean, there the king is cut off, here the king is not cut off. So in fact, you should not let your king get cut off. Okay, in the end game, as soon as the pieces are traded, you should rush to the promotion file. If you are cut off, it is a catastrophe for you. You will certainly collapse. So this one is understood. We'll come back to rook b1, okay, and see that how rook b1 holds, and in a slightly difficult manner, but we'll come back to that. First, I want to tell you that this is the basic position. If you encounter this, keep your king on the promotion file and maintain the third rank defense. And when the pawn pushes, then go behind, sort of perpetual checking. And when the king and the pawn are sufficiently separated, then you will go behind the pawn, attack the pawn, and win the pawn. Right? Is this clear to some extent?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's go to I will come back to this and also show you with white to play. This position is a win. And why these positions are so tricky. In this starting position, we saw that black to play rook b6 is draw, rook b1 is draw, rook b2, rook b3, rook b4. Okay, in fact, only two moves are losing, rook b5, rook b7, and the rook move along the 8th rank. That is losing. The king move is also losing. Okay, but we'll come back and see that in this position, if it is white to play, it is losing for black. We'll come back to this again because that is a slightly nuanced thing. So let's go to the next position. The next position I have taken is the knight's pawn. And I told you that with the knight's pawn and with the rook's pawn, passive defense is holding. Okay, you don't need to do anything. You don't need to do the third rank cutoff. Even if you do a third rank cutoff, suppose the pawn is on the 5th rank, that will still hold. But you can also be passive. So sometimes passivity is okay, but only in special cases. Okay, you have to know those exceptions. In general, passivity is considered death in rook endgames. Okay, I mean passivity is death in general. Okay, also no one wants to play passivity because as we know that passivity has germs of defeat. I think Lasker or someone has said that, right? I mean, in general, if you're playing passively, you will lose. But especially in the knight pawn and the rook pawn, you can hold. There are some exceptions, and we'll see this. Suppose black is waiting. Okay, I kept this as this is black to play, right? And just let me do that. Black's move. Even if it is white to play, it doesn't matter. I play this waiting move and I ask you, okay, well, how will you improve? Now you play the move. Okay, if you give a check, where should you go? What do you think?
In the corner.
You have to go in the corner because king f8 is losing. He will play king h7 and you will lose the king. So certainly go in the corner because he will not have the space to maneuver. If he had I file, then you are lost. Okay, I mean, he doesn't have the I file and the J file. That is why you are surviving. So you go here and you ask him, what will you do? And actually, he can't do anything. Okay, he has to move the rook.
Then you go back.
And then you go back. Okay, and one thing is there that he has to, if you play this move, rook h7, okay, you can still wait. And white should not push the pawn. Otherwise, it is again the special case that you lose the game. Even though you had material superiority, but because of this horrendous move, and because of this, your desire to win where it is not there, where the win is not there, and you push the pawn, you actually lose. Okay, in the book, in all the textbooks, this is written as double question mark. In fact, this is a losing blunder because check, the king is pushed back, the rook is taken, the pawn is lost, and you are completely lost. Okay, so that is why you are not able to win against a knight and the rook pawn, because you do not have space to maneuver on the other side and actually win a tempo and win the game, right? So this is another thing. With the knight pawn and the rook pawn, passivity is still okay. Okay, generally it's not okay, but with the knight pawn and rook pawn, you can passively defend. Okay, so these two positions are basic. There is third position, which is little bit trickier, but again, it's a building block, which this one is called passive defense. Why it's called passive defense? Very easy to understand. Both the pieces are on the last rank, right? So that is why it is called the passive defense. So you have to understand this. The terminology also is, I mean, there is inconsistency in some of the books, but this is generally considered as a same name, passive defense. Both the pieces on the last rank is passive defense. Now the next one which I want to talk about is, let me go to this one, back rank defense. Hold on. Yeah, this one is actually important and little bit tricky. This position you have to understand very well. The other two are a little bit easier, but this one is slightly nuanced and important to understand. So let me see whether I put this as black to play or not. In fact, even white to play, it doesn't matter. I'll make this as black to play. So this one is not passive defense. Okay, this is, don't think that this is a passive defense, because black king is not on the last rank. Okay, in the passive defense, both the pieces are on the last rank. In this one, only the rook is on the last rank, but the king is at an active position. And here, black is able to survive, even though it looks like completely lost, but it is not a lost position. And we'll talk about it. In fact, you guys can think of moves and we'll see this. Suppose I make a move rook e7, rook e8. Now, what would you play as white?
King d6.
Only move because I'm threatening a skewer, so you have to go back, right?
Yep.
Now here, there is only one drawing move. What do you think it is?
Rook back to a8?
Rook back to a8. Why? Now, we can also investigate. See, now we can use the principle of that elimination, method of elimination or method of exclusion. Suppose you don't remember, after a few days or a few months, you might not remember it, okay? So how do you come to the correct move? Now let's evaluate each move and figure out that all of them are losing. Suppose you play rook h8. How can white win this? So these are like small sub-problems or small puzzles, which you have to solve. How can white win the position?
I can see.
You can see that?
Yeah. I think
Tell
so.
us. There are several ways maybe in this one.
Oh, it's one easy way.
Tell us.
Pawn equals queen.
Yeah, check.
Pawn e8 equal to queen, double check.
Double check, yeah.
And king has to take it. And since it's a double check, and then a skewer will happen.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about rook g8.
Oh, okay.
We have to eliminate everyone. This is the method. This is candidate moves. Okay, what a lot of grandmasters call it, the candidate moves, and how do you eliminate that? This Dr. Karsten Muller, he has mentioned as method of exclusion or method of elimination. Not only him, I think it was coined earlier also. This is not a method which he found, but it is called method of exclusion in his book. So rook g8. Now, how would you win? It is winning, but how?
Oh.
And this is how you have to think, okay? A lot of these endgames, you have to ask yourself these questions and solve these problems. And maybe later on, try to play against Fritz if you want. or basically try to figure out how to win these positions, because a lot of them, they involve a lot of thinking.
Ah, I've just thought of an idea.
Okay, tell us.
Well, you can still promote to get a queen,
Okay.
and then when he takes it, you play King E6.
King E6.
Oh no, that doesn't work.
That
No, it
doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. I was trying to be clever and get checkmate or skewer, but it doesn't work.
It doesn't work because I can throw in a check and push your king
exactly.
backward, and then the rook will cut off your king. Your king will not participate. So that doesn't work.
So how does white win here?
First, let others also think. Let them think. Okay, let the position torture them, right? So how do you guys think? It is not a straightforward thing, right? I mean, it looks like.
Well, there's not many options.
Can you play? Yeah, promote, and then the king takes, and then rook e7 check.
Promotion will not help.
No.
Certainly, promoting will not help. The same idea. Rook h8 is a horrendous move. Okay, that is why that double check is working.
Yeah, I just realized the king can move to d4.
Does King D7 work?
King D7, then I'll come back to the same position, right?
Ah.
I made a mistake, and you have to punish it at this moment only. See, in these end games, it is like
Rook B1.
Rook B1. Okay, so what is your idea there? What is your idea there? Rook B1. There is some idea there, right?
I think so.
Rook F1.
No. Then I'm going to play Rook D7, and we don't have the same position anymore.
Rook B1 looks like a good idea, okay? Because what is happening is that you want to come. Yeah, he wants to play Rook F1, right?
Yeah.
So Rook B1
after Rook D7, King D7.
So Rook B1 seems like a good idea, because now if he plays, okay, so let's see that.
Yeah.
Rook B1. Now, what can black do? Suppose he plays Rook A8.
Oh my word.
Rook A8 is possible, right? He wants to be as far away from the king as possible. Then, no, it's winning. Okay, Rook B1 should win. Now, how do you win it?
Oh,
now check.
Okay, check. He goes King G7.
Which he has to. He can't go E8.
E8 is not possible because he will have a skewer and.
Well, it's mate. It's mate.
It's actually mate also, yeah. So correct. So
King G7, and then.
First, I'm letting you guys visualize. Then I'll move the piece on the board. Yeah. So we have to think in the mind. Okay. So King G7, then Rook F1, King G7. I have a threat here.
Yeah.
I'll as we saw last time, I have minimum checking distance from this side. I'll keep on checking from this side. So what you have to play precisely after that.
Oh, do you go towards the rook? Well, King D7.
King D7, then I'll keep on checking you. You remember the Lucina thing?
Yeah.
The prince, I have checking distance of 3 files. Then I'll keep on checking.
Can you play Rook E1? Just get behind the pawn.
Rook E1. Okay.
Yes, not in this position, sorry. After we play F1 check.
Correct. Rook F1, King G7, and then Rook E1, right?
Yeah.
I will move the pieces later. First, we want to visualize.
I haven't understood that. So
he is telling this. Then what will happen? I will give you checks, okay, and you have no cover.
Yeah.
But
you want to play Rook E1, right? Sorry. And
well,
then
I'm realizing it doesn't work. Yeah, because the king can just go back.
You could just go back, actually.
Is it a similar idea to the last lesson? Is it?
Yeah.
Rook A1 and
Rook
just
A1,
contest
correct.
the other rook. Yeah.
Yes, the same idea. It is. I call it as face-off between the two rooks. Okay, you first push the king, and then you play Rook A1.
Oh wow. Okay.
It is
so how obvious is that?
No, it is
very.
not obvious. Okay, that is why King G8 and finding the plan is like a puzzle. We are looking at some puzzles. Okay, why? Because it's basically gaining a tempo. You want to take away the A file. Okay, he has to play King B8.
Just comment on why he can't take that. Because
if he takes it, yeah, if he takes it, then it's a known. We have covered that in the Lucina position, the Queen versus Rook ending.
Yeah, which is not that quick, but you can win easily.
Yeah, which is not that easy, but it is a known win. That one we'll cover it someday. But it is a known. You can call it like programmers want to call it like it's a function which is written. Queen versus Rook is a known winning position.
I think most people would think that was a win, but you've got to know how to do it.
And it is difficult, as I had we had talked about during our last session. Peter Swidler was not able to do, and it is actually a quite difficult endgame. Okay, I mean it's not a trivial endgame.
I had a look at it after the lesson.
Yeah,
and there's a Philidor position with Queen and Rook, and that's the only position I can win from. I can't win from.
Correct, and you have to actually reach the Philidor position.
Yeah, which I can't do.
Wow.
Yeah, because if you reach the Philidor position, then you do triangulation, and black is in Zugzwang, right? I mean that. Okay, so we'll talk about it later. Now, what happens? He has to play King B8, and now you attack the Rook. And then when he comes here, you attack the Rook. Okay, and when he comes to this, then you check this. The king goes back, and you take the Rook.
Well, what if the Rook just goes? Oh no, the Rook going back again doesn't help.
No, doesn't help. Okay, here this is the crucial move. See, this is a battle of single tempo. You first give a check, you push him away, and then you play Rook A1. Okay, because this is the whole thing is you want to win a tempo. One mistake, and you will throw away the win. Okay, even though it looks easy, but it is not. Now see, even Rook E8 will not help. Rook E8 is I will move the king, and then you are losing. Right, Rook E8, obviously King D7 will lose. So that is the idea, Rook A1, and you win the game. So here, coming back, so these are sub problems. This is the method of elimination or method of exclusion in its full glory, that you have to figure out on your own why, like we discussed King G8, I mean Rook G8. Rook H8 is obvious, it's a very bad move that no one would think of playing Rook H8. You're losing very simply. So the best move here, as we said, is Rook A1.
Right.
And if he comes back, then you repeat the position. And anything else, it's not helping White's cause. You guys can think of, then we'll try to defend. Okay, let's see what else, what other idea you have. You can play this waiting move, right? If you play a waiting move, I can throw in a check. You come here, I come back, Rook A8, and I keep on saying that, okay, now show me where the money is. And there is no way to improve the position. Okay, in fact, there is another interesting thing which might look to you that it is slightly counterintuitive. If the Rook is on A7 and the black Rook is on B8, then also it's a draw. Okay, if I swap the files, let me set up that position that I didn't set it up. That might look a little bit counterintuitive, but it is also a draw. And let me say that it is black to me. Okay, here I have less file, but still I will have enough file to hold this. I give this King D6. I should not go here. We have discussed Rook G8 and Rook H8 is bad. Okay, you'll lose the game. Try to keep the Rook on the long side. So I'll play this. Now as White, what would you play? Think about a move.
Well, we were trying Rook A1, weren't we?
Here, Rook A1. Okay. Rook A1. If you do here, then I can give a check. Now I'm just thinking whether check is needed or not, because here everything is like very, very. You're walking on a tight rope, right? I mean, this is the idea that okay, I will play Rook B6.
Maybe it's better to move the Rook into C7, is it?
where you want to move. Here, this is a draw, okay? You have to, let's try out. Okay, king c7, right? If you play king c7, I attack your pawn. And you might think, okay, I'll go here, again, I'll go this side. So this rook b1, rook a1 looks like a try, right? I mean, it looks like you are making some progress. But I will give you a check here, because I can't go back here. If I go here, rook e8, is it holding? I'm just thinking. Rook e8 will not hold. Rook e8 is losing because you will give me a check, you'll push me and attack the rook. So that is why, see, this is how you come to the correct move. Because any day you will not remember every position, right? You have to figure it out on the board. If you play rook e8, I'm just asking you to visualize, this check will happen, push the king, and then you will attack the rook. And then the rook steps back, then you will win. You'll win. That is why I have to play this move. Now you might ask me, okay, I'll attack the rook. But attacking the rook will not help. I will play this move. Right? I'm attacking this. Now you can say that, let's see whether I have not created the PGN file because I also want to think and learn along the way, right? I mean, practice these positions, because this is the thing that you have to work out that position several times and memorize and internalize it. Not memorize, basically internalize it. Every time you have to figure it out on your own, what is the way. Now he comes here. Don't take the pawn. If you take the pawn, you're losing. Right? If you take the pawn here, you're losing. He will give a check and your king has to go away and you will lose. This is another trick which comes quite often. Check, come here, check, and you lose the rook because you come here and he will. This is a very often repeated trick. So when he comes to king d8, don't take the rook. I mean, don't take the pawn. Give a check. He comes here. Again, you do this. This check now with the rook is not helping. I'll take the pawn with the king. But if you go here, then I'll push your king this way. Okay, so this is the thing. This is a back rank defense. This is slightly tricky, but important to remember that king is not passive and the pawn, the rook is on the last rank guarding it. Okay, the rook is on the last rank, but you don't have to switch the rook to the same side as your king, then you will lose. Okay, so that is, these are the three building blocks which you need to defend. Okay, these are the basic positions which we have to understand. Did you guys, did it make sense a little bit? Mark and James, all of you, did you understand a little bit what we are trying to say?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So now, this we have covered, this we have covered. Now I want to go back to the first position which we had talked about and make it as white to play and show that it is winning for white. Okay, so let me go here and okay, white to play. Now what do you think, how would you win here? So this is from the beginner section. Now we are coming to the intermediate level, so that now these positions we'll talk in more detail. And so what do you think? Think for a few minutes and use the method of exclusion and figure out what is the first best move here? Because this position is winning for white. If
Didn't
it is
we
black,
sort of look at this? Is it king g6, then we're white to play, right?
Yeah. Black to play, we know. Rook b6 is the simpler draw. Yeah.
So then king g6 here.
Okay, why not f6? I mean, let's use the method of elimination and figure out why f6 is not working. Tell me.
Well, we go rook.
Oh, and then the rook goes, then rook b1, and then you can
rook
check.
b1.
Yeah, it transposes to the same position.
Mm-hmm.
See what is there. Earlier we are playing rook b6. We are doing some waiting moves and then f6 and then rook b1. But if you make a move f6, this is a terrible move by white. It throws away the win. It's now a draw. He has to play rook b1. Okay, these positions, they are very, very tricky. This is like a mathematical puzzle, okay, even though it's in the realm of chess. But as a mathematics aficionado, I can tell you that this is also in the realm of mathematics. You are You're doing precisely. What about king f6? I'm using the method of elimination to find the best move. What was
B6 check, and you have to go back.
Yes, again, the Philidor position is coming. If you play king f6, I play rook b6. Now you have to go back, or you play king e5. It doesn't matter. It's a draw. So these two moves are both horrendous moves, and it throws away the win. So see, what is the method of elimination? If you figure out that these two moves are obviously drawing, then, and you are not able to see the entire thing after king g6, then you can still play king g6, because in a practical game, you do not have that much time, right? So if you see for yourself that, okay, f6 is transposing to the Philidor position, because rook b6, f6, and rook b1 is the same thing, right? The rook is there, it is stopping. It's a stopover and then going to b1. Here it is directly going to b1. It doesn't make a difference, right? And king f6 is also what he's doing, the cutoff on the third rank and pushing my king backward. So same thing. So now in a practical game, you can play this move just based on intuition. I'll make the move because other moves are drawing. And the rook waiting move is not helping. If you make a waiting move on the 7th rank, then I play rook a8. Okay, I also wait on the 8th rank. Nothing is happening there. So you have to make moves from the king or the pawn. So now, what do you do as black?
Well, you don't do rook b6 because then
Certainly not. Rook b6 is okay. Not
lost.
All checks are rook b6 is lost. Pawn pushes and then you are totally lost. What else? And passively you can't sit, right? Let's also talk about this. Passively, if you sit, passive defense will not hold for a bishop pawn or the central pawn. It holds for the rook pawn or knight pawn. If you play this, I push this pawn.
Yeah.
And after I push this, okay, you can come here, and then I actually need two moves, and I will do a maneuver by which I can win a move. Actually, if I get two moves, rook h7 and f7, then I'm winning, right? Just imagine in this position, if white has two moves, rook h7 and f7, then he's winning. So how do I orchestrate a move? How can I win a tempo?
Check on g7. And
Check
then,
on g7. Yeah.
Clever.
Check on g7. He goes to if he goes to h8, another check. He comes here. You have won a tempo, and you are pushing the pawn and winning. Also, after this check, if he goes here, then also you play this. He has to come back, otherwise skewer.
Yeah.
And then you have again won a tempo.
That's very clever.
Yeah, so basically the maneuver is to win a tempo here, okay? I mean, the maneuver of the rook to first throw in this check, intermediate check, is to win a tempo. Otherwise, you basically need two moves, but you win one of the moves by throwing in this check. Okay, that is why I saw this position several times and I looked at several times, but then I figured out that this is basically to win a tempo, and that is why you are doing this intermediate check. Otherwise, there's no reason to give this check, right? Okay, so we understood that after this, he cannot play passively. Now, suppose he goes and plays rook b1. Then what? How would you win?
play a waiting move with the rook, just like c7, rook c7.
Why you want to do waiting move now?
But why not king f6?
Oh, of course, yeah. I was thinking he can just check and then you go f6.
No,
but yeah,
no,
you can just play f6.
King f6 is, you want to play f6 or king f6? What do you want to play?
If you play king f6, he comes back to b6 and it's
he comes back to b6 and it's a draw.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so king f6 is ruled out. Okay, king f6 is a terrible move, is a horrendous move, and it's a draw because rook b6 and we have set up the Philidor's defense. So king f6 using the method of elimination or candidate move is ruled out. What about f6?
And then he can just check from behind.
f6 is also ruled out because if you remember, it's the same thing, right? f6 is again, I'll give you reign of checks. And
we must go rook a8 then.
Yeah, see, Martin, you are now coming to the point, and you're using the method of elimination.
Because then you've got some pawn check.
Yeah, so rook 8. Let's try to visualize it. What will black has only moved king e7.
Then you can go pawn check.
Yeah, he plays king e6. Then push the pawn again.
Pawn on again.
Yeah, so that is the solution. That is why he's losing. You give a check. He comes here. Only move. Pawn push. Okay. If he goes here, then also push the pawn. Doesn't matter because when the rook is on the 8th rank and the pawn is on the 7th rank, then these vertical rain of vertical rain of checks will not help. The king will chase down the rook
Yeah.
because the pawn is ready for promotion. You can't go behind the pawn
Yeah.
and attack it, right?
Yeah.
And if he comes here,
Well, hang on. Yeah. If he goes e6, yeah.
he goes e6.
Now we've
Then
got to do something different.
you
now.
don't give don't push the pawn. You
No.
have to give a check here.
First.
And now when he comes here or whatever, then push the pawn.
Oh, yeah.
Important. Okay, this is the only sequence by which you will win. When he goes here far away from the pawn, then it's easy. It's trivial. King d7 or king e7 he goes, then it's easy. You just push the pawn and you are winning. But if he comes closer, this is more. It makes more sense because he wants to give you a check and win the pawn.
Yeah.
So then what you do? You give a check. Another check. Again, if he goes here, king d6, then just push the pawn. So he has to attack the rook, but you push the pawn and say, now I'm winning, because now these checks will run out. Okay, I just want to show for people who have not grasped this point.
Yeah.
If the rook is on the 8th rank, the promotion rank, and if the pawn is on the 7th rank, okay, then the reign of checks will not help, because see, finally what will happen? They're not doing anything. I'm just crawling closer and closer, and then you are lost, because okay, you have to move the rook, and I win. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that is the thing that in this position, now we have seen the sequence of moves which wins. King f6. Okay, passively you are losing. If you go back, rook b8, then we have seen how you win. Rook a8. I'm just reiterating. He comes here.
Yeah.
Check. He comes here. Check. He comes here. Pawn push and then win. So
Yeah.
series of moves all have to be found for white to win the game.
And every other move looked like it didn't win.
I mean, see, if you don't push the pawn here, then you might not win, because how would you make progress? So I mean, we see a sequence of moves which wins, right? I mean, definitely if you make these sequence of moves, there is no way the black king is surviving.
That's all you need to know. The sequence.
That's all, because because if you don't do that, see, and he puts the rook behind, as we'll see later on, he can draw the game.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, he will be able to draw if you make some waiting moves and he is able to come back and defend it properly. You will not be able to win the position. So that is why you have to, when you have given an opportunity, you have to find the correct sequence of moves to win the game. Like we saw the last one, which James said, rook a1. If you didn't find rook a1 there, I mean, then you are not winning, right? That is why the rook ending is tricky. Everything looks similar, but slight difference, and it's not, it goes from winning zone to drawing zone. Okay. Okay, so as Martin had said, this position, right? Other than rook b6, about rook b1. And what happens that this is another way of drawing. I want to focus on this. Why? Because a lot of times you do not have the Philidor's draw. Somehow the configuration is that you are not able to set up the 3rd rank defense. Otherwise, you should go for the Philidor's draw, I mean, which is also called the 3rd rank defense, because it is very easy. This one, which you will see, which is attributed in the books by to Kling and Horwitz, or in some other books, it is Dr. Karsten Muller. He has mentioned this as Karstedt draw. Okay, some other player, Karstedt, he had found this. Even Kling and Horwitz, they had found, they did a lot of research on rook endings. Some authors have attributed to Kling and Horwitz. Okay, so I'll tell you what is the idea here. And this one is slightly nuanced and advanced, but there are some general principles which will help you in doing this. Okay, so he plays rook b1. Now, certainly f6 is a terrible move. We have talked about it as a draw. And king f6 is also a terrible move. Again, rook b6 is a draw. So you have to think about these transpositions all the time, okay? That is the only way you can come at good moves. So white's only move is king g6, which makes sense because pawn push and this we have eliminated. So we have to look at the move king g6, okay? Now here comes Dr. Tarash's golden principle, which applies in a lot of cases, and that is rook behind the passed pawn. So one of the defensive methods we have seen in the pawn on the 7th rank is these horizontal rain of checks. And if the checking distance is at least 3 files, then it's a draw. We have seen that 3 or more than 3 files, right? And even in the Philidor's draw, if you see, it's a rain of vertical checks from behind. And again, the checking distance is actually 4 files there. Okay, 4 ranks actually. So even that is why rook a2 was also holding. Okay, so here we'll see that there is another way of drawing when the pawn is on the 5th rank, which is rook behind the passed pawn. And this is actually a walking on a very tight rope. And it is very important. Rook G1 will lose. We'll talk about it, why it loses. Rook G1, if you play, it loses. Okay, I mean, maybe let's clear that also. How do you come to the move rook f1? Now, rook G1, I'll play king f6. Checkmating threat. Okay, and now this is another principle. Whenever you have a choice, always move the king to the short side and the rook to the long side, because you need the rook to give horizontal checks. So that is why you keep the king on the short side and the rook from the long side. This is a general principle. We'll see that. But here it will not help you. To play king here, I mean king g8, check, king h7, push the king, because I want to push the pawn and finally come to the Lucena position. That is my aim. My whole ambition is to arrive at the Lucena position. And if I can arrive at the Lucena position, it is winning. So now you have to come here and think of giving checks. The only way you can survive, I mean, you can think of holding this is do that, right? I mean, you can think of checks in this position. Now, what is happening is, since the distance is enough, so in this position, when I push the pawn, okay, you are still able to get sufficient distance, checking distance. You are seeing this, that in this case, you are getting the sufficient checking distance. So you can probably hold here. In the other case, we'll see it will not hold. Maybe for the central pawn, it will not hold. Here it will hold because you have sufficient checking distance, right? You see that when the rook is giving a check, it is giving a sufficient checking distance and you will be able to hold. So first, let's see the move which actually, with the way you should draw, then we'll talk about this. Because for the bishop pawn, I think even this one will hold. So let's talk about this thing, how you will hold a draw. This is important. Rook f1, he comes here. Okay, you move the king here. I give a check. You come here. Now, what should white play? He can't move the king, right? On the 7th rank, he can't move because the pawn is lost, isn't it? So what he can do is he can put the rook like this. Rook f8, x-raying and defending the pawn. Now, what do you think what should black do? Can black wait?
It's a strange looking move, isn't it, to go rook f8?
Yeah, but there's an idea. You are x-raying the pawn and you are saying that I want to, suppose you wait. Let's see what is the threat.
Oh.
You are waiting.
King
the king,
e7.
yeah.
King e7.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you continue waiting, then it is terrible. Now, even if you do this, the point is that I want to come to the Lucena position, right? If I arrive at the Lucena position, then you are lost. Then you have no way of holding the draw, right? That is the key thing. We have talked about that. If somehow you can get a Lucena position sort of thing, then you are totally lost. If you consider waiting here, then you definitely lose the game, right? Because I push the pawn. And if you continue waiting, then there is nothing you can do, right? The pawn will go to the 7th rank. I will move the king, move this king, and you're cut off and you're losing, right? So you can't wait passively over there, isn't it? I mean, passively, if you are waiting, then my king and the pawn, they start marching, and the pawn, when it goes forward, then it will, I mean, it will arrive at the Lucina position. So what do you think black should play here?
Can you play? Oh no, I was going to suggest rook e1 to stop the king from
No, if you
moving
play rook
away.
e1, then the king will go
Yeah,
go to
and then
f7.
yeah,
So you have to go to the long side.
Yeah.
Right? It makes sense because you can go on the long side and give checks, right? And when I play this move rook e8, then again there are two ways of drawing, but the best way is to go back. And why you want to go back? You are not able to move the king and push the pawn to the 6th rank. Okay, basically you don't want, the further the pawn, the more dangerous it is for you. So you, by playing this, you should, if you give a check, okay, believe it or not, this is also a draw. But I will show you a position where Magnus Carlsen with a central pawn, he lost the game when in Vaikanze in a classical tournament in 2005 or 2006, young Magnus Carlsen. Because actually what happens that this one, when you let he will blockade it, right? If you do this thing, it becomes very tricky. Then there are only moves which draws, okay? That is why you should not throw in a check. Just go back and ask white, what will you do? How will you improve the position? Think about it. How will you improve? There is no way, right? I mean, when you are moving the king, here you can say, I'll move the king. If you move the king, then just check. Right? The same idea. I will just keep on giving checks here. You are not making any progress. Right? What else you can do? You give a check, I just keep on giving checks. I mean, I will keep on giving checks. Only thing is when you say that, okay, I will create a position like moving the rook here and blockading the check, then I can go back. The idea is not to let your pawn reach the 6th rank. Okay, so this one is little bit tricky, but the key idea is same, that you are not letting the pawn come to the 6th rank or the 7th rank. 7th rank, if it reaches and your king is cut off, then you lose the game. We have seen the Lucina position. So you are preventing the pawn push to the 6th rank, right? Is the philosophy clear here? Because the philosophy is a little bit tricky here. Maybe Martin, you can make some moves and I will try to defend. Okay, so that way it will be better. That okay, in this position, what do you think? What would you play?
So
and
who's to play?
It is black to play. Okay, I played the move here.
Oh yeah.
What would you like to play here as white? Either you will move the king or you will move the rook, right? These are the two possibilities.
Yep. So king f7 is an obvious move.
King f7, you will move, then I'll give you a check. You have no shot.
So king e8 doesn't work, does it?
King e8 is king e8 will, I will not exchange the rooks, okay? I will keep on giving checks because if I exchange, I lose the game.
Right. So what white, you're saying white can still win here, so
no, white cannot win.
Okay, so that's the impression I got, because you'll just keep checking.
Yeah, you keep checking, and only thing is that if he makes a move like rook e8, saying that okay, if you check, I blockade it, then you don't need to give a check, even though it is holding a draw, but it is difficult. So what you should do is just when the rook is trying to blockade the check, go behind the pawn and say that you can't push the pawn now. I mean, you cannot move the king actually.
So what happens if white plays rook e5 now?
Okay, rook e5 looks like an interesting move, right? Because what you are doing is you are defending the pawn and saying, then I will move the king to the last rank. Because if I don't do that, then you will push the king. You will play king f7 and you'll push the pawn. But now you are going to when the rook leaves the last rank, my king should come to the last rank. Because we have seen that the king has to be on the promotion file.
And king e7 won't be any good now because you can't move the pawn up easily.
King e7 is not good enough because what is happening? You want to push the pawn, right?
Yeah.
Your idea is to push the pawn. So how do I stop that? Prophylaxis. Tell me what is the move? How can I stop the pawn from moving forward?
King g7.
King g7.
And there's no
That is,
checks.
and if you push the pawn, then I take the pawn. Right? That is the idea. You have to figure
Yeah.
out the move by understanding the opponent's idea. And here we are saying that you basically want to push the pawn, but I have to stop you from executing your plan. A classic example of prophylaxis, right? So that is what, if you figure out that what is your opponent's idea, then only you can stop the idea. So here, this is the key algorithm that if he create, in fact, this is the most dangerous plan, Rook F8. This is considered as the most dangerous plan by white. If he plays Rook F8, then because he has given you space on the this side, and you should come to Rook A1 and start giving checks. And if he tries to blockade it, like after you play this move, and he says that, okay, because he is trying to make the move King E7 and push the pawn, which you want to stop. That is why you are saying, okay, you have created a good position for your king, for your rook and the pawn, but now I have ways of giving these rain of horizontal checks. And that is what you will not be able to get out of. And if you again put Rook E8, then I again go back here. And the other move which you made, which is actually interesting and important, then you come back with the king on the last rank. Because if you don't do that, okay, again, if you don't do that and let him play King F8, F7, then you will lose the game. Okay, that is the trick in this. Okay, this is like very, very precise, and one mistake and sometimes the game will be gone. Okay, I will not get the second chance to come back and make a move. So this is how you, this is a slightly advanced technique. This you should only use when the Philidor's third rank defense is not available to you. Somehow you are not able to do the third rank defense, then only you should go for Karstedt drawing mechanism, because otherwise this is, as you see, this looks more complicated also, right? This is not a very straightforward thing, because it's not a very straightforward draw as the other one, but the principle is same, maximum checking distance, and you want to keep the other rook keep the distance from this king and give checks like that, prevent his pawn from pushing forward, and that is how you hold a draw in this case. So is it clear to some extent? How do you do it? It might not be clear fully, but do you get the key idea in this?
Yeah.
What about James? James, did you get the idea in this one?
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one will take the same thing with the central pawn, and I want to emphasize few ideas here again. Again, black should play, let me set this as black to play. Okay, so we have said that rook behind the pawn, right? If you can't set up the third rank defense, like in this position, suppose it is black to play, you can't play rook b6. You can't do the third rank defense. If you can't do the third rank defense, then the best thing is to attack the pawn from behind. Okay, another principle or heuristics which you have to see whether it is holding or not, but you understand that if you cannot cut off the king on the third rank, if you're not able to set up Philidor's draw, then go behind the pawn and attack it. Okay, like you play this move. Now he plays King E6. Now in this position, this is the central pawn. Okay, in the central pawn, you have both the ways of holding a draw, King F8 or King D8. Which side do you think is better? This is again a rule, as a principle you should keep in mind. What do you think is better, King F8 or King D8?
You told us earlier, go short.
Yeah, correct. Always keep king on the short side. For
Why is that, Siddhartha?
Okay.
What's the reason?
So, okay, well, I'll tell you. When you keep the king on the short side, what happens? The rook will go to the long side and give checks, right? So you will have enough checking distance.
Whereas on the short side, you've only got 2 squares. So,
yeah. So maybe for the bishop pawn we were doing right. Let's go to the long side and see you are losing, how you are losing. Okay, so that will actually clear the thing. That's a good question. I forgot to answer that earlier. So let's do that, and you see that how you lose in that position. Okay, you make a wrong choice, and how do you lose? In this thing we went rook b1, right? King here, and we went here, we went here. And then suppose you go to the wrong side.
Right.
Okay, this is what we are investigating.
Yeah.
Now, I give a check. You come here, right? Because you're forced to go there.
Yeah.
Now, I play Rook
Oh,
F8.
wow. Well, that's not an intuitive move again.
That is not an intuitive move, but the idea is you want to play King G7 and push the
Yeah.
pawn. It's an X-ray. It's an X-ray defense. This is this is the best move here. In fact, this is a winning move, only winning move. Now, what will you do as black? Tell me. What would you do? If you wait here, suppose you wait. I move the king. You keep on waiting, then you will be destroyed. I push the pawn. I mean, see what will happen. I'll create a Lucina position. I come here, wait, I'll go here. Right? And then if you wait, see, that is why the Lucina position and Philidor position, they are considered as fundamental in Rook endings. You give a check, I come here. You go attack this, I push the pawn. Now we have arrived at the Lucina, right? I will go back and win this position, right? Your king is cut off in the sense that you go here, I'll come back. I can even build the bridge on the 4th rank and then give you a check and push you and then win the position. Right? You see that? Now, do you understand that how you are losing in this position? That if you are going to the short side, I mean, you went to the long side here, right? Martin, aren't you losing? Or you want to make some moves and see for yourself. You make some moves here and see. That will convince you. You are black here. How would you play? Because if you play against someone, this is another way of learning. You play against someone, these positions, or you play against a computer and see. Now, think about what would you play here.
So if your idea is to get to G7, can you just play Rook G1 to stop that?
No, it won't stop. Then I'll push the king here. My idea is not to move the king to G7. Rather, my idea is to get the pawn to the 6th rank and then the pawn to the 7th rank.
I see. Yeah, I see now. It's about moving the king out of the way rather than putting the king on G7.
It is basically to move the king and create a path for the king. Right? And you do not, in the other one, what was happening, you were thinking of giving a check from the side, but here you do not have enough space.
Yeah.
If you play a move like Rook H1, it will not help you, okay? I can actually play this. And when you give a check, then I come here.
Yeah.
And when you do this, then the pawn pushes forward.
It's helping white. Yeah.
So that is why, if you see the problem, what is the problem? In the bishop pawn, this is important. Your king cannot go on the long side because the rook needs enough space, enough checking distance. If he doesn't get that, the rook is helpless. And this is why you lose the game, okay? That is why you have to do it the other way around. Now
you've answered the question, why is the short side generally the right way to go?
Yeah, for the bishop pawn, one thing is there that you cannot go on the long side, you will lose. The only way you can do is the king has to go on the short side. On the long side, it is a catastrophe. With the central pawn, you have a leeway that you can go on either side. But with the bishop pawn, you do not have the leeway. But still, as a good endgame player, you would never like to go on the long side.
Right. Good.
Okay, I mean, as a principle, don't go there because again, you don't want to walk on the tight rope and play only moves to draw. Okay, that is a terrible position in a practical game. I mean, if you have to make the only moves, you are in real trouble. Okay, I mean, that is why Magnus will see that practical game. He lost to Levon Aronian in Vaikanze Classical in an endgame, which is a well-known theoretical position, but he was making he had to find the only moves and he missed it and then he lost.
Was he short of time or did he have lots of time?
It was a classical game. Okay, so he had enough time. These end games are very, very tricky. Okay, I would say that these end games, some of them we are looking at the intermediate level. Even for this rook pawn and rook, okay, it looks simple, but it is, I find it is quite challenging. Okay, it is challenging. It's not that I find them. I think it is quite challenging. Just imagine Dr. Nunn, our own grandmaster, if he can write a 390-page book on just rook plus pawn versus rook ending, just imagine. So it is definitely complex, right? Why would he write a 300-page book on just 5 pieces on the board?
Yeah.
Right? That makes no sense, right? Okay, so this we were looking at he played rook b1. Yeah, black to move. What were we? No, black has made the move. 1 minute. What was the position? He played rook. Yeah, it is black's move. Yeah, because the position was we were looking at this, right? He goes behind the pawn and you play this. Then I was telling you that you should not here. Actually, king d7, d8 is also drawing. But let's go to the, as a rule, this is always there. Go to the short side with the king and keep the rook on the long side so that you have sufficient distance. Okay, so if you make a move like king d6, what should black play? Think about it. What will you play as black? Very interesting move.
Can he check and then you probably repeat? So check on d1, and then if you just, then he can chase you down. Maybe.
Okay, he has gone 1 minute. So he has gone here, right? But he's not doing anything, right? Just you can play the waiting move, right? There's nothing there.
Wow. So don't check.
Or 1 minute, because if he pushes the pawn, then he loses the cover. Okay, he can't push the pawn. That you have to understand. If he pushes the pawn, then it's not good.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask you was, after this check, and it comes here. What about the move? Yeah, this is one thing I want to ask. Suppose he plays king d6 here. What should you play as black? Using prophylaxis, you might find the move.
The check.
Check is not good. Okay, check if you play the king comes to e7.
Oh yeah, yeah. So you've got to go king f7 then.
Yeah, that's what I was
King
going to say.
f7. You have to understand. He wants to push the pawn. You have to prevent his idea. Okay, king f7, and this is the thing, that if he moves the king to this square, creating this, trying to push the pawn, then prevent like this. And if he plays a move like rook e8, then we have spoken about it. Then you have to go to the rook a1.
Right.
Because you want to give checks from this side. If he plays rook d1, okay, even rook a6 is a draw, but it is a difficult draw. Maybe once we are covering the advanced position, I'll show you. That is an advanced, that is a draw, which is the 4th way of drawing, but very difficult. There is where Magnus Carlsen lost the game. Okay, I mean, I'll show you that one, his game, and how he lost that position. But that one is still drawing, but he made a mistake later on. Okay, so here, when he plays rook d8, just go back. How will he improve the pawn? He can't improve. If he moves the rook back, if he's trying to protect like this, and then go to the last rank.
Again, yeah.
Yeah, we're back here. Yeah.
So there is no way. And in fact, you know what? This one, I'll show you the position. It looks very, very tricky, but it is a draw. He comes here. You have to come back here. He plays here. Okay, because now if you check, if you give a check, he blocks it.
Yeah.
You come here. This is what happened in Magnus' game. He pushes the pawn to d6. Now still this is draw. But you know what is the move here? Yeah, it's a draw here.
How is that a draw?
It's a
It
draw.
looks so lost.
It looks so lost. I'd play on if I was black under any condition.
Yeah, you should see one.
However, I might resign in my mind.
Yeah. But this thing we'll talk about in maybe in the next sometime later. We'll talk about this advanced thing, because this advanced thing I will also have to introduce you to the concept of mutual zugzwang and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you play? Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I think my connection might be a bit dodgy, but I was looking at rook a6, and then he hasn't really got a move.
Rook a6 as white or black.
As black, sorry. Yes.
Rook
then-
A6 is not
Oh,
great
and then he
move.
blocks with D6, and then yeah, I was looking at
No,
king.
no, he
move.
plays king E8 check.
Oh, of
Rook-
course. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's no good. No, he's got
Rook
some
is-
nice checks.
In fact,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what happened in the game. Okay, at this point, this is he made few correct moves. Okay, he
King
played
G6 is
king
the only
G6.
move.
Wow.
And then what happened? He did some triangulation. This guy,
Ah,
Aronian is a very tricky guy. Okay, he did some moves, and I'll tell you what he played. He played a move which is considered as very poisonous. I'll just think about it. He played actually Rook D6 with black to play. The position was like,
oh,
I will show you here. So 1 minute. I showed you this position, right? He pushed the pawn.
Mhm.
Black played actually Rook A1 is also Rook A1 is a draw. Okay, Rook A6 is I think the only losing move here.
I'm glad I found it.
No, but you know what? Why Rook A6 loses? Because you have to push the king to E8.
Yeah, I completely missed that it was discovered check. I just
And then finally you will not survive.
yeah,
Rook
wow.
A6 is the only losing move. And so I will show you what happened. Rook A1.
This is like you could have set a puzzle there.
Yeah, we can set up.
Plank to play and play the only losing move.
So you know what
Well,
happened?
I win.
Yeah. So you will win the puzzle.
Yeah, I
So
win.
this was the position. Okay, this was the position with black to play.
Wow.
And you know what is the best move here?
And this is drawn.
With correct play, it's drawn, but with
Wow.
an incorrect move, it's losing. What would you play?
You can't do king G8. You can't do
Oh,
rook check. Crikey. Rook F8 is that no? Rook F8 is that any good? No.
No, Rook F8 will not help.
No.
because then he plays D8.
What else is there? Rook C8? No.
It looks tricky. Okay, so this we'll talk in great detail, but I just want to give you an introduction here. I'll tell you the thing. You have to find the only drawing move King G6.
Right.
Why? I'll tell you. Magnus, what he played? He played a check here.
Yeah, that's no good because the rook goes
And
in.
then, no, not rook. The king goes up.
Ah. What was wrong with the rook? What was wrong with the rook?
Because then the position will go back, Rook A8. and
Oh,
it will
yes,
draw.
yes,
Now
yes,
you
yes.
think about black. What can black do? He resigned here. Carlsen resigned.
Because he's got rook D7 as a threat, and the pawn's moving up. So
Yeah, the pawn is moving up. We are going to create a Lucina position now.
and he can't check again on A8 because
No,
the
no,
rook
this
goes in.
A8 is losing a tempo
Yeah.
because I win a tempo here. Rook
Yeah,
D8.
yeah.
Go
yeah.
back and then go back anywhere. The pawn pushes.
Wow. Yeah.
So actually, the trick here was, this is considered in Jesus de la Villa. He calls it as a poisonous move. Rook D6 is considered as a very poisonous move. We'll talk about these positions are very complex here. The only drawing move is King G6.
It's
And
so
there's-
counterintuitive, isn't it?
Dr. Nunn, he gives an exclamation mark, okay,
Yeah.
that as a convention, only drawing move, because
Yeah.
all other moves lose.
That's amazing. So hang on, so show us why that draws.
Yeah, how does it draw?
Yeah, so okay, first see how white loses, that you got it, right? Not this
Mhm.
move. If you play this, it is he goes back. This is a draw here. But the thing is that the moment Aronian played this, he realized, oh man, I'm gone. And there is no way to defend. You can't give a check. You can't wait here. The pawn will push, and I will arrive at the Lucina position. That is why Lucina position is considered as a fundamental position. Okay, and that is the winning.
Just tell us again in summary, what does the Lucina position actually mean?
Okay, so the Lucina position actually, I have it here.
It's when the king and the rook and the pawn are all together at the end.
Yeah. So see this one. Let me make it as white to play.
Sorry, I'm confusing things now.
Yeah,
But
so the Lucina is this one, where the pawn is on the promotion. I mean, the pawn is on the 7th rank.
the king is nearby.
The defender's king is cut off, okay, by at least one file.
Mhm.
And now in this position, if it is white to play, the easiest way to win is to throw in a check, push him by 2 files, and then build the bridge. Build the bridge or rook d1 or rook e1. Transfer the rook to the 8th rank or even put the rook behind the passed pawn, right? And then you will win the game. We have talked about three.
The Lucena position isn't a simple statement of position. It's actually a
class of
moves.
Yeah, but Lucena position is what the way you have to consider is the pawn is on the 7th rank. The defender's king is cut off from the promotion file.
Yeah.
And your rook is in a position that, okay, if it is black to play, then also it's a win because the checking distance is not good enough. If the rook were on a2, then it's a draw here. Okay, we have talked about this also. If you look back in that lecture, in that presentation or the discussion we have, if the rook is on a2 and black to play, then it is a draw because he has checking distance of 3 files.
That's just ridiculous that by moving the rook 1 square over.
Yes. So yeah. So this is what is in the rook endings, the subtleties and finesses are very important. One difference, one change in the position, and it's a draw.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go back to where you were then. You've explained that well. I got that now.
Yeah. So I think this is what I wanted to talk about, that in the central pawn, how you defend, right? You understood the mechanism. The Karsten thing we'll talk maybe in the next lecture, because here I want to talk about few positions and show it to you. But I just wanted to give you a flavor that how things are there in other endings, right? I mean, not to explain that in great detail because I want to build that up. So here we have covered in this thing that in this central pawn, okay, if you cannot do the 3rd rank defense, like here in this position, if it is black to play, you can't do the 3rd rank defense. Then the second way of defending is rook behind the pass pawn. Right. And we discussed that how you defend that, right? We have spoken about it before. I summarize and also talk about some references so that you can, let me just tell this we have covered, right? You always go on the short side, even though you are drawing in this, you go on the short side. And now when he checks, you go here. And the best way for white is to try this. But whenever he does like this, always think about his idea. What is his idea? His idea is king d7 and push the pawn. Prevent his idea by coming to this side and giving checks. Okay, and that is the key idea. If he comes here, then go back. So this was the Karstedt drawing mechanism, or the Kling and Horwitz drawing mechanism. Maybe after next month or next to next month, whenever we have the time, we'll discuss about the pawn on the 6th rank, and there are a lot of finishes there. And I'll talk about the Karsten and Aronian game also. Okay, so maybe we can conclude. Just let me give you some references because people will be interested to know how to study. I mean, what books you can use as a mechanism, for reference. So I will suggest some books which can be useful. So see, take it as several courses, okay? Like first course, what you want to do. Suppose it is a first introduction to you for rook endings. If it is a first introduction for you, then the easiest book which I would recommend is The 100 Endgames You Must Know by Jesus Dalla Villa. Okay, as a
have you got the book there? Or
yeah, I have the book. Should I show you?
If you finish with the board, then stop sharing, and then you can hold the book up.
Okay, I can stop sharing.
Yeah.
So this is the 100 endgames you must know. Okay, I like endgames, so I have a lot of endgame books. Okay,
you're motivating me to go through this book now, because I've got it too.
So if you have if you are studying for the first time, then you should go through this
on my Christmas list.
Yeah, Christmas list. Yeah, you should go through this. This is easy. Now, if you are at the intermediate level, if you understand the Lucena and Philidor, then I have the book, but I have the cover on it. So in fact, there are 2 books which I would recommend you to go through at the intermediate level, which is Fundamental Chess Endings by Karsten Muller. I have it actually here, but I have put a cover because this is such a beautiful book for me that I have put a cover on this. So you'll not see this. And this another one which I would recommend, okay, which is everyone's favorite, is Mark Dvoretsky's Endgame Manual. Okay, so in those 2 books, I will consider it as intermediate level for rook endings. But the real, I mean, if you are an advanced, if you love Endgames, and especially the Rook Endgames, then the two books which I have, which I like a lot, one is an absolute classic, which if you have, you should, I mean, you can, I also got it recently about 3 months back. This is a book by Grigory Levenfish and Vasily Smyslov, Rook Endings.
How old is that book? That looks old.
This is a 1960s book, okay? But I got it from Batsford recently, about 2 months back, 2 or 3 months back.
I remember the cover and from years ago.
Yeah, but it is available, okay?
I haven't got the book, but I remember it, yeah.
Yeah, it is 25 pounds. You can get it. I recently got it. And this is for advanced, okay? This whole book is on Rook Endings. So if you want to study very in depth, then this book. And the other one is from our own Grandmaster, Dr. Nunn, which I got recently, Secrets of Rook Endings, which I have just started reading it. But these two books are for advanced course. If you want to really delve into the jungle of Rook Endings, then these two books are there. But this Dvoretsky's Endgame Manual and Karsten Muller, that Fundamental Chess Endings, they are also quite decent. And the other thing which I would also recommend for you is Grandmaster R.B. Ramesh. He has a channel on YouTube, and he has gone through few endings in very, very slowly explaining the method of elimination. Because what he does is you cannot remember the moves, okay? No one can remember all the moves. You have to systematically come to the right move.
Could you tell us the YouTube channel again?
Can I share my screen and show it to you?
Yeah, of course, yes.
Okay, so let me show it to you.
You could go on your YouTube and show us the subscription or whatever.
Yeah. So 1 minute. So I have so many subscriptions that I've subscribed to all the chess channels. Okay, so
right,
so,
yeah.
So I'll show it to you, that one. R.B. Ramesh is chess coach of this Pragnananda, right? So
he's good then.
yeah. He's extremely good. I mean, this guy's channel is mind-boggling right now. He doesn't this basic Rook Endings part 1. Here he has talked about Rook and Rook versus Pawn and some endings there, and then there's basic Rook Endings part 2. So that is 2.5 hour lecture. You should look at that one, basic Rook Endings part 2.
Okay.
Basic Rook Endings part 2 is basically Rook and Pawn versus Rook ending. Yeah, this is 2 hours 45 minutes, and then 45 minutes he has talked about.
Ramesh RB.
Yeah, Ramesh RB. Yeah, you can Google about him. He's the coach of Ramesh Babu Pragnananda, the Indian prodigy, right? You would have heard about it. The guy who defeated Magnus Carlsen in rapid chess 4 or 5 times this year. So he is the coach, and he the first position you are seeing is the Lucina. You see this? And the checking distance. He also explains what are the things you have to remember. There is checking distance and stuff like that. Okay. So this is and in some other lectures on St. Louis Chess Club. St. Louis Chess Club also Rook Endings, as I've seen in Camberley Chess Club also people recommend that, right?
Yes.
So Camberley Chess Club also they recommend this. Yeah, it is St. Louis Chess Club. If you go and find, I think Josh Friedel has a good lecture. But not as good as R.B. Ramesh. I mean, I liked him because he goes through it very slowly and explains the method of elimination, which I find is the key to it, because you cannot remember the moves.
Yeah.
Okay, no one can remember the move. You have to systematically all the time deduce the move on your own, on the fly. If you have less time, then okay, you can't. But you should be able to analyze and figure out the moves at home at least. And if you do it few times, he also says some positions are advanced. Okay, the pawn on the 6th rank is advanced. Maybe after 2 months, when people have digested this and gone through it a few times, then we'll talk about it. Because those positions, the advanced positions, you have to go through 5-6 times, not in once. Even Lucina, okay, it looks easy, but go through it few times. Play it against Fritz, play it against someone else, set up the Lucina and try to read it. Because Mark Dvoretsky, he has just written 1 page. Okay, and Grigory Levenfish, which we talked about, he has talked about this Lucina about 6 pages. We had talked about some complicated endgames last time, right? In this, where James was getting the intuition, right? James, you remember that one, it was a draw, the other one, it was not a draw.
Yeah.
Right, we covered that.
Because you had the extra file.
Extra file. So those tricky things, the subtle differences, okay, that is what you have to, if you want to understand those subtle differences, then you have to read Dr. Nunn's book or Grigory Levenfish and Wesley Smith's book.
Wow. Yeah.
Because those subtle differences are only in books which are devoted to Rook endgames. Even I think Karsten Muller has a book, Understanding Rook endgames, just one book on Rook endgames. Because there you will find all those subtleties, okay? That is very tricky. That even Grandmaster R.B. Ramesh has not spoken. But why I like this lecture, he has introduced how to think. That is the key, how to think in Rook endgame.
Click on his name a minute and you'll get all his videos. Just click just on his name. No, not on that. On his name.
Yeah.
Because then you'll get all his videos listed.
Yeah, so he has a lot of videos.
Yeah.
There are a lot of, you can go to the playlist and see there are this chess endgame video in the full playlist. It is showing one, but he has 2 videos on endgames. Okay,
click on videos at the top there. Okay. Click on
videos.
Yeah,
okay.
Here. I just want to see what videos he's got. He's got loads by the look of it.
He has got loads. He has spoken about initiative, Rook endings, and stuff like that. Okay, mostly end games, and also about some initiative and stuff like that. There's some other good, and there's a grandmaster training. There's a guy, international master, who wants to be a grandmaster.
While you're showing YouTube, do you want to show your channel? Why wouldn't we ask you to show your channel?
I don't stream. I mean, there's not much content, but yeah. But I plan to finish this Jesus Da Villa once day. I mean, I'm thinking of doing 100 endgames fully. I'll show it to you.
Your channel, go down.
I have few videos on some. I'll show you. Some opening traps.
So you've got some nice videos, and when you get used to listening to somebody, if you like it, it's quite nice to go and listen to watch other videos from the same person.
So I watched through your Polgar video, actually, the Mate in Free Polgar video. I thought that was fun.
So this one, this is a very long lecture. So what I have done in this, I have used visualization. Okay, I'm just talking through the moves. Okay, I open a position and I just do it in your mind without moving the piece.
Right.
Okay, so that you might find interesting, James, because you are, I mean, anyone who is decent, that is one thing, that a lot of visualization. These are puzzles in Polgar are not very difficult, but they are still building blocks. When I'm teaching to the kids, I mean, I teach chess to the kids, right, in US and India, and even in there's one student from Sutton also who she has started coming to my home to learn.
From where? From Sutton?
Yeah, I'm in Sutton. I'm in Cheam, right? I told you in Sutton. So there's a girl. She has said that I want to do not online but face-to-face class.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah.
So she has started coming. I hope some more kids will join from Sutton and neighboring.
So we need to add your YouTube channel to our resources page, I think.
Yeah.
I will make a note to do that.
Yeah, also, I think you. Yeah.
Is it possible for you to share a list of the books? So I know Dvoretsky's Endgame Manual. I've heard of it, and I was considering getting it, but I also heard that it was maybe a bit difficult for the level that I'm at the moment. But if you could share a list of the books you mentioned to Martin, I would appreciate that.
Maybe I'll mention in the document the beginner level, the intermediate, and the advanced.
That'd be great. Thank you so much.
This Dvoretsky thing is basically what happens, that he gives only 1 page of Lucina. Okay, the book is fantastic. It covers all the endgame thing, but it just covers the Lucina in 1 page. Okay, it expects that endgame you have to know it cold. Okay, in the sense that you don't have to think the solution. And that is what a lot of authors say. Endgame, you have to think of it like you have to know some positions by Cold is like you don't have to think, intuitively you know the move. Okay, so I'll send Martin that thing, but you buy that. If you're thinking of buying Endgame manual, then certainly it is a book which should be there in everyone's bookshelf. It is not only Rook endings, right? But some other endings also is covered in, not in great depth. Okay, if you want to go to great depth, then you will have to buy some Our Buck 5-volume series and stuff like that. Here, everything is in condensed and less explanation. You have to find the explanation on your own.
Yeah.
But all the important positions are there.
Yeah, with the De La Villa book, I started having a look a while ago, but put it down and haven't picked it up for a while. But yeah, I do plan to go through it. And I think it sounds like Dvoretsky is a good next step once.
Correct.
The end of this.
Correct. De La Villa is like, I have gone through 80% of it. Here the explanation, he has he has explained it quite well. Okay, he has not, it is not, see, Dvoretsky, since he has covered such so many positions, he has to devote less time to writing, right? He expects you to figure it out on your own and do all those analysis. But the book is fantastic in the sense, in the condensed form, you have all the endgame. That is why it is considered as a Bible by everyone. I mean, it is the only, if you have to go to a marooned island, that is the only book you want to carry with you, right? No other book. Everyone says that only one book if you have to carry, then only Dvoretsky's Endgame manual. No other book is needed. But the point with that is a lot of thinking and reasoning is not explained. So that you have to figure it out. That is the problem. That is why you have to do this Jesus Davila and other book and gain to a sufficient level. A lot of people say that it is basically meant for people above 2000 ELO, right? You would have heard that if your ELO is below 2000, then that book is slightly difficult, but still you can at least understand some positions and then.
So that's like ideal world. You get both books and you start plowing through.
Yeah, you see which book you like and stuff like that. You would have seen De La Villa is little bit easier, right? I mean, the explanation is easier and the language is also easier. Dvoretsky doesn't write too much. Okay, it is like he will have a symbol of mutual zugzwang, forced move and stuff like that. You have to know the informant symbol and figure it out on your own. So that is that. And also the explanation is not there. Okay, so less explanation. So he expects that you will figure it out on you. But it's a fantastic.
Brilliant. If you could drop me a quick email in your own time with those books, just so that we got, I think I've got them, but let's drop me an email and then I can make sure everybody knows. And I'd like to add your video on the resources as well. And then as you add things in the future, they'll appear for people. So hey, look, thank you very much again for coming on.